Bad Piggies, the popular spin-off to Angry Birds focusing on the pigs, has had many adaptations and plans made for new games and shows. The idea for a full sequel to the original game has been thought of at least twice. This is the second, most recent adaptation of the idea. I'd recommend you watch my Bad Piggies 2 2014 video if you haven't already. It kind of pre-explains everything, if that makes any sense. This variant of the game is very interesting. It was released for a short time and had a huge amount of juicy fandom controversy. I swear, this game is either one of your favorite newest games or down there with Dream Blast, Journey, and where Angry Birds Epic should be. So, where do I fall on the subject? What happened to the game? What even is a Bad Piggies 2 anyways? Let's find out. Without any further ado, here is the story of Bad Piggies 2. Again. 2021 was one of the first good years of Angry Birds in a long time. Rovio's inept management kind of screwed things over for a while beforehand. I already talked about what happened in 2014 and 2015, but the years onwards weren't any better. Other than the Angry Birds movie doing well in the box office, what really happened? Almost every game entered a soft launch before release, meaning almost all of them were cancelled before having a chance to release. By 2017, all of the original games ceased production simultaneously, and they only released one new game for 2018, and that was just a copy of a game from another Rovio franchise. Commonwealth's contract with Rovio basically ended after 2016. The second movie was not only mediocre at best, considering Aquafina brain rot, genuinely cringe dialogue, and the Baby Shark cameo.
Even Glenn's having a good time!
But also apparently bombed at the box office. And you already know what happened in 2019. Rovio, in easily their worst, stupidest choice ever, removed every single game in their library from before 2015 indefinitely, aside from Angry Birds Friends and Transformers, which were both consistently receiving new content updates at the time and still to this day. However, strangely, Bad Piggies was also relisted in January 2020. Seemingly because of this relaunch, Bad Piggies began to rise in the App Store rankings once again, and eventually the game became pretty popular, with Bad Piggies drip and the theme being added in the background of every meme that was funny around the time, not to mention the Civigunner rips, a popular video game music creator who mashes up many video game music tracks ironically, who made a lot of Bad Piggies themed videos around the time, and Friday Night Funkin', a rhythm game that was getting immensely popular around the time of late 2020 and early 2021, that had a fan-made mod produced around May of 2021 that featured Ross as the titular antagonist and featured some of the music from the original game's score. Simultaneously, Rovio's CEO, Katie Leveranta, who was at least part of what inspired all the BS I talked about previously, was replaced by Alexander Pelletier-Normand, who stated that Rovio would make many more great new games, including bringing back older projects and ideas within the coming future. This was the perfect time to try again at Bad Piggies 2. June 2021, Rovio revealed many of their proposed projects. Angry Birds Double Crossed, Reloaded, Rovio Classics, but the one that intrigued the most was Bad Piggies 2. The game had 3 separate concept trailers that were all to test the waters on if people still thought Bad Piggies was a popular enough franchise to fund a sequel for. All were basically the same trailer, but with a single yet substantial difference: the designs. The first trailer shows the classic designs from the original Angry Birds games and the first Bad Piggies. The second shows a slightly revamped Angry Birds Toons, almost Angry Birds 2-ish sort of art style. And the last one shows what I think is supposed to be the style shown in the Angry Birds movies, with a devamped Raving Rabbids style and weird hentai tongues to top it off. Gross. Each of these ads were otherwise the same and featured a building grid, a new online mode, and the feature of destroying buildings as you drive, which didn't seem to serve a purpose. The ads all went to a really weird page made using Geeklab that looked exactly like a Google Play Store page, or in some cases a Steam listing that would take you to a Q&A about the game after you click the install button. In this Q&A, you could say what you wanted the game to have, why you clicked the ad, but the most interesting thing here was being able to choose which of the 3 styles you wanted for the game, similar to the ever so controversial mob vote, and more recently the whole situation going on with Plants vs. Zombies 3. Judging by the game's popularity at the time, upwards of hundreds of thousands of people casted votes, most criticizing the movie style. Many were skeptical about this game's legitimacy, since no true confirmation of the game's existence wasn't officially confirmed, and the fact that the ads originally came from TikTok, but after the Q2 2021 investors meeting by Rovio officially showing the game's butt-ugly placeholder icon, everyone knew it was legit. Since the game was getting traction, and the first game already had the most traction it had been at since release, development on Bad Piggies 2 began shortly, being created by the same Stockholm development team who created Angry Birds 2 as of that September. In November 2021, 3 more trailers released, including updated Toons and movie designs, and did basically the same thing as the first 3, however this was published to Facebook, giving a look at more features the game was going to have, notably having a part upgrade system. This also came with a Geeklab page that featured basically the same questions as the first. This game seemed to have a lot of potential, and many people, including me, were excited for more to be announced for this project as 2022 began to rear its relatively forgettable head. Not all too much was confirmed in 2022. Months came and went, development inferably continued confidentially, and the fandom was very intrigued on the upcoming project. Many made their own style votes, making polls to see who liked which style, and good lord the amount of people who hated the movie style. The votes usually had around a good 49 to 47% battle between the classic and Toons styles, and then the movie styles down there with literally fucking 4% of the vote. People really didn't like it, even if it was improved from the June variant of the design. Most people already didn't like the oversaturation of the style, as it appeared in every Angry Birds game up to that point, except for a few exceptions. Meanwhile, the rest of the fandom was trying to figure out any sneak peeks Rovio made involving a pig, and acting like that confirmed Bad Piggies 2 to release somehow. People really wanted any information about this game at this point, but it never came, until... The Q3 2022 Rovio investors meeting revealed a lot of Angry Birds goodness, including Angry Birds Kingdom, Project Next, which we still have no idea where that went, and also the first mention of Melody, who still to this day I think people make too much of a big deal out of. But the one thing here everyone was excited to see was Bad Piggies 2. The presenters stated that the game was doing well in development, and it was clear that the game should be released Is that the movie style? When contacted about the icon, Rovio apparently said that 2 was a placeholder and the final design wasn't proposed yet. But that's just wrong, right? How can this team develop an entire game for almost 2 years and not pick an art style? But whatever. It's not like we'll receive the movie style, right? That would be stupid. I mean, they already revealed it, it's already getting some merch, but no confirmed designs. They must be trying to make it a surprise. We can't get the movie designs now. Or can we? Wait, what? No! In January 2023, it was confirmed by Michael Strombeck, the lead artist of the game, that the project was going to use the movie style. This was already the beginning of the end of the game, but we'll get more into that later. For now, let's think optimistically. There's been plenty of good Angry Birds games that just so happen to have this style, like... never mind, but anyways, this did mean that the game was right around the corner. After almost a year and a half of being left in the dark, we finally knew this game was coming. And it did, as on March 31st, 2023, the first ever screenshot of the game was posted on Discord. It was an ordinary background of a level, no characters, no real objective, though it wasn't a nice 3D art style with a lot of details in the background. On April 3rd, gameplay was posted onto Discord by Lisa, the community leader of Rovio, on the Rovio Gaming Discord server, showing a freckled pig riding a flying vehicle. Pretty ordinary teaser, though again, good goodness, the amount of detail put into the background was impeccable. Despite the movie designs, this game was going to be really good from the looks of it. And then it released. Bad Piggies 2 was a game released by Rovio Entertainment on May 4th, 2023, and later May 9th, 2023 on Android devices. The game only released as a beta launch in Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Norway, and Poland. In the game, a young, aspiring freckled pig creates vehicles with his uncle, Ross, the very same Ross from the first game, who has since retired and made his own business. Good for him. The game lets you make these vehicles using soda bottles, wooden blocks, stone blocks, I meant metal, sorry, don't kill me, and a selection of other materials to pass through each level. The game featured 5 chapters: Prologue, When Pigs Fly, Again, a Balancing Act, Fight Club, and Grand Prix. The soft launch stage ended on October 31st, 2023, and nothing of the game has been officially spoken of since. Why is that though? Let's get into it in a more political way. Let me just start this off by saying I'm a big fan of Bad Piggies 1. And I mean big. Bad Piggies is easily my favorite video game of all time. Not Angry Birds game, not Rovio game, not mobile game, but my favorite video game. It is the funnest experience I've ever had playing a video game in my entire life. I'll just say this bluntly, Bad Piggies 2 is easily the worst game Rovio has ever released. Here's why I think that, and why I think that this game failed. There's multiple reasons why I think the game is bad, but before we get to it, here's some good aspects. 1. The 3D modeling is amazing. The backgrounds for this game are absolutely beautiful. The fact that almost every single individual flower petal moves is amazing. It is clear that almost every single asset in this game was handled with love and care. 2. The plot is legitimately heartwarming. The plot of this game, being that Ross is now an old geezer, has moved on from building for the king, and is now mentoring his cousin, is actually kinda sweet. I personally wouldn't do it if they tried to do the game again, since it only just adds another weird hole in the Angry Birds timeline, but I think it's a unique but surprisingly nice and almost refreshing way to make a sequel to a game that hasn't had a new installment in over a decade. 3. The music is pretty good. The music tracks in this game, while completely basic and not very memorable, have a lot of charm to them. I don't really have much to say other than that most of them are pretty good. And now on to the bad stuff. Yeah, that was all the good stuff I liked about the game. Yikes, I know. Now, I would like to say that I only played this game during its original launch window, in May and June. I was not around for all the changes, and since half of them weren't documented for some reason, all I can go by is other people's footage from the game from that time period between July and October. Take what I say here with a grain of salt. Anyways, let's move on to why I think this game failed. 1. The movie style fundamentally changes how Bad Piggies works. I know I've talked about the movie style a lot so far, and you might be wondering by now if it was the only reason why the game flopped. You probably have your own opinions on the art style. I've seen plenty of thoughts on it. Some people hate it, some people like it, some people just don't really care. So, what do I think? I usually don't care all that much. I'm not bitter about the art style itself, but objectively, and I never use that word lightly, it fundamentally changes the core operative of how Bad Piggies works to begin with. One of the great parts of Bad Piggies is when you have Ross roll or bounce around all across the map. Hell, that was exactly what you were supposed to do in a couple levels. But in Bad Piggies 2, doing this is straight up impossible due to the fact that the characters have limbs. Now Ross is just put put into a contraption from the start, meaning he can't spin or fly anymore. Boring. All those TNT boxes where you could blow the pig up, can't be made. The 3x3 cage where you beat Ross senselessly with punching gloves on all sides, can't be made. Literally anything involving something being on top of the pig, can't be made. All because Rovio wanted this design for seemingly no reason, even though the classic design would have taken a lot less money to make assets for, since it's all in 2D. Why did they choose this style though? Luckily, we have an answer. Not a good one, but we still have an answer regardless. And that leads me to my second complaint. 2. Rovio are liars and don't care about the same people that made them famous. On May 22nd, 2023, Rovio Gaming released a video on YouTube that I think needs to be discussed a lot more, and is one of the things in this fandom that pisses me off more than anything else. The video, titled Bad Piggies 2, You Asked, We Answered, is apparently a Q&A of most of the frequently asked things of BP2, which questions were answered by Adam, Embla, Bruno, Suda, Adrian, G, Andrew, Nora, and Lena. Basically a lot of the dev team for the game. I'd like to start off with saying that I have nothing against any of these people, and neither should you. A lot of the things that were said by these people were very likely Rovio itself's fault, and these individuals were probably forced to comply or get fired. But I will still be harsh when I say, this video is filled with straight up lies and inconsistencies. When asked about the art style, Embla stated, on record, this.
Because we did some art tests, as you guys, most of you guys know, and that was the style that people liked most.
Now, I have no exact idea what style won the vote since the results weren't publicated, and if they were, there's no link to them. But that's like the 0.1% of water not being clear. I am 99.9% sure that the movie style did not win the vote that almost the entire fanbase decided on. This is a straight up fucking lie. And then she goes on about how they also chose it because of how it had more freedom in expressions, which is true, but she acts like the classic designs can't emote just because they don't have limbs, which is just wrong. There were 3, count 'em, 3 shows that Rovio made from the 2010s that showed that the classic designs can be just as, if not more, expressive than the movie style. You always knew when a character was afraid, angry, sad, or just acting silly. The characters didn't need limbs. They would just hold stuff in invisible hands and hop and roll around. For the movies, it makes sense to have more human characters, but it doesn't translate to the games very well at all, and again changes Bad Piggies for the worst. It seems that after 2016, Rovio has lost a couple brain cells, which I guess explains why they don't understand the nuance of the classic and Toons designs. It is very clear that Rovio did not give a shit about what the fans thought of as the best art style, and just did it as another attempt to show that we still care about the fans, just so they can get publicity for 2 years until 2023 when everything ever shit the bed. I am going completely off script right now because I am genuinely pissed. 3. No creativity allowed. In Bad Piggies 2, one of the main new things you see from the start is a tutorial. Basically, Ross tells you all about the basics, but Ross isn't just there to tutor. As in multiple, if not all the levels if I recall, he either builds half the cart for you, or just makes it so the building grid is only able to build one shape of car for you to build. In the original game, you were supposed to basically guess what parts go where, and see if it worked. If it didn't, you try again in a different way on the grid. That is literally point blank what made it a fucking puzzle game in the first place. And if you had any trouble, you just used the mechanic pig power-up. But that was sparingly, just a last-ditch effort. Here, it's something that is required and unavoidable, making the game boring. 4. Literally nothing is new. I don't think that there was a single new part or gimmick in this game that did anything unique, was there? Everything was already in Bad Piggies before this except for the triple and large bottles and the balloons that deploy upon activation. And those were all just revitalized variants of pre-existing parts anyways. Even in the concepts, the whole construction thing was pretty much just cosmetic. Nothing here is new, and the game is more so a Bad Piggies Part 2 than a true sequel, which asks the question, why not just update the original Bad Piggies with new ideas and stuff instead? Oh, yeah, because it doesn't have any of the new stuff that everybody dislikes that Rovio thinks they're making a profit off of. Okay, then why keep the original game on the App Store? Not that Rovio should remove the original Bad Piggies so it can be replaced. I mean, the day that Bad Piggies is delisted is the day that every Rovio employee will be too, but replacing a game with what is basically the same exact game with a new coat of paint is just kinda useless. 5. Putting microtransactions in a beta. This is the exact reason why Bad Piggies 2 is gone. It has to be. Microtransactions are already very controversial in mobile games, but the way they were implemented here was monstrous. Not only were there gems, or rupees as referred to in the game, but also these weird energy drink cup things that represented the dreaded cupcake system. For those who don't know, the cupcake system is a form of currency coined by Angry Birds Go 1.0, the runner-up of the worst Angry Birds game from before 2015, that is basically a worse version of the Candy Crush heart system. In Candy Crush, you only lose a heart if you lose a level, but in Angry Birds Go, and later Angry Birds 2, and of course Bad Piggies 2, no matter what, whether you win, lose, or quit, you lose a bit of that energy and can only get it back by waiting for the amount to refill or pay up with whatever other currency system the game has. But you might be confused. How can you lose Bad Piggies exactly? Well, you can't. Not the first one at least. But don't you worry, they found a way. In Bad Piggies 2, you get to restart 10 times, and if you use those 10 times up without finishing the level, you lose the level and have to restart it with less energy. Look, I understand that 10 retries in such a simple game is pretty lenient, but it does not change the fact that it in itself defeats the entire point of Bad Piggies to begin with. Bad Piggies is about trial and error. They want you to know that from the very beginning by having the restart button right next to the menu button, unlike in every other Angry Birds game where it's in the menu itself. You're supposed to try again, not try, give up, start a family, start another family all across the country, start a third family in Santa Fe with an alternative lifestyle, commit to the third family, double down and show up at his war hero father's retirement party, and then kill all 3 families. Okay, maybe that was a bit too dramatic, but that's basically what they want you to do in Bad Piggies 2. Give up, and then pay a $49.99 pack of 370 more rupees to spend on getting more energy. And putting all this in what's supposed to be a beta to test out the game and its features? Yeah, no wonder the game failed. That is absolutely ridiculous. Despite literally everything I just said, I really think that this game had potential, at least at one point. They did eventually remove the energy and added some more quality of life elements, but that just wasn't enough. Most people, including me, jumped ship the moment the game released and was garbage upon first playthrough. People thought the game was just going to be another cheap modern mobile game with nothing good about it. In my opinion, the game seemed to still be really bad during its final days, and I bet that they'd just re-add all the currency systems when the game would have had its full release anyways, but I can still tell that the game could have still been pretty cool. After the game was cancelled, many artists for it showed a lot of their concepts they made for the project. Some of them included lava levels, water levels, cool new gimmicks, etc. Even though we'll never know if these ideas would have actually even been implemented, since they were just concepts, it would have been very cool to get all of these unique environments and gadgets. Speaking of gadgets, Gidget was a character used in some of these concepts, and was the daughter of Mechanic Pig. Her design is pretty cute, and it actually translates pretty well into the movie style. Maybe Rovio should have waited a year or two to release the game when they actually had their head in the game, but either way, what we ended up being stuck with in this timeline is the game that could have saved Angry Birds as we know it, that only ended up tarnishing the franchise even more than it already was. As for Bad Piggies 2 itself, on October 14th, 2023, it was revealed that the game was going to be shut down on the 31st of the month, Halloween, and that they would be going back to the drawing board, implying that the game would still be in production, though nothing has been confirmed of that since. Bad Piggies 2, along with its servers, were both shut down on October 31st, 2023, and now nobody, whether it be those who like the game or those who dislike the game, will ever be able to play it again. What, did you expect me to say, or can we? No, nobody even really cares about trying to revitalize Bad Piggies 2 like they've done with Angry Birds Fight or Stella. Literally nobody cares about this game, which is really telling, especially considering that videos from only a few years before the game's discontinuation and release had hundreds of thousands of views plastered on them. It seems, for now, that Rovio probably doesn't think that Bad Piggies 2 should be tried again, and they probably think that it just wouldn't be cost effective. And unless or until Rovio reveals a third attempt at Bad Piggies 2, then that's basically a wrap. That was the story of Bad Piggies 2. Thanks for watching.
Bye.